My name is Emily, and I would like to tell you the story of my first marriage. When we met in America after high school, we both felt a powerful emotional charge that turned our peaceful lives upside down. When I first saw Jake, I knew my days as a single bachelorette were coming to an end. He was the epitome of a real American guy. Slim, brave, with shining blue eyes and an inimitable sense of humor. We met at a party of mutual friends and immediately hit it off, as if we had known each other all our lives. After our first meeting, we could not get enough of each other. Together we discovered new places, walked the streets of New York, strolled the sandy beaches of California, and traveled through the protected forests of Oregon. All of America became our field of adventure, and our love of the sky was the limit. No one had ever cared for me like Jake. He was sensitive, sweet, kind, considerate, and gentle with me. We were united by a passion for adventure and new discoveries. Jake and I often went for walks in national parks, and our mutual love of nature only grew stronger. Together, we traversed waterfalls, climbed mountaintops, and watched the sunrise of majestic mountain ranges. We knew that our journey in this world was not limited to one place. Our relationship became so strong that we decided to move together to a small town on the Pacific Ocean. We found our corner of happiness there, where we could enjoy a quiet life and beautiful sunsets. Our young and steadfast love not only helped us overcome life's challenges, but also inspired us to reach new heights. Together, we realized Jake's dream of becoming a great photographer, and my creativity found an outlet in illustrating children's books. We supported and inspired each other, and our successes became shared. 3 years later, in a romantic setting on the coast, Jake made me his most important proposal. He got down on one knee, pulled a beautiful engagement ring out of his pocket, and said,
"Emily, you make me happy every day, and I can't imagine my life without you. Will you marry me?"
My heart raced harder, and tears of joy poured down my cheeks. I said yes with a huge smile and a shout of yes. We celebrated our proposal, and we both knew our future would be filled with happiness and love. The wedding was small, but bursting with tenderness and excitement. In the presence of our family and friends, we exchanged vows of love and fidelity, promising to be there for each other in all the joys and trials of life. After the wedding, we decided that I would take care of the household, and Jake would continue his career and pursue his photographic art. We were both happy with this division of duties, and it allowed us to have more time for each other and our family. I took charge of the household chores, creating a warm and cozy atmosphere in our home. I loved cooking delicious meals for Jake and taking care of our home with love and care. It was my way of expressing my love and support for him. Jake, on the other hand, continued to strive for success in his career as a photographer. He traveled all over the country, capturing the beauty of America and its unique moments. His work became better known, and he was gaining recognition and respect in his field. I was proud of his accomplishments and supported him in all his endeavors. As time went on, Jake became increasingly busy with his successful career as a photographer. His work won prestigious awards. He was invited to exhibitions and received numerous offers of collaboration. He immersed himself in his work, striving for new heights and looking for inspiration in every shot. While Jake was becoming more famous and successful, I stayed home taking care of our house and household chores. I felt clumsy and insecure around him, realizing that in my life I was not achieving as impressive results as he was. Being just a housewife was beginning to overwhelm me. I was asking myself questions. What have I done for myself? What can I be proud of? I began to compare myself to Jake, feeling inferior and dissatisfied with my accomplishments. I watched as problems began to appear in our relationship. Jake was becoming increasingly picky with me. He criticized my decisions, my actions, even my appearance. Instead of support and understanding, all I got was criticism and resentment. This behavior left me depressed and frustrated. I began to doubt myself and my abilities. My confidence was crumbling and my joie de vivre was fading. I felt inferior and unattractive. We tried to talk about these problems, but Jake shrugged them off, thinking I was exaggerating their importance. He focused only on his career and success, treating me like a housewife without paying attention to my feelings and aspirations. My soul cried out for help. I struggled with myself, trying to keep our love and family together. I wished for a return to the beautiful bond we once had, but the more I tried to change myself to please Jake, the more I lost myself. In time, however, I realized that I didn't deserve to be treated that way. I realized that my happiness and self-respect should not depend on someone else's nagging and criticism. I began to look for strength within myself. My heartaches and fears were at their peak. Jake and I were at a crossroads again, and thoughts of divorce were beginning to creep into my head. I was immersed in a sea of doubt and anxiety, trying to figure out how I could survive and cope outside of this marriage. I asked myself a lot of questions. What will happen to me if I'm alone? How would I cope with finances and living? What if I can't find a job or provide for myself? My dependence on Jake had become a heavy burden, and I feared that outside this marriage I would lose my independence and strength. Fear gripped me every night, and tears streamed down my cheeks. I did not know how to overcome these doubts and cope with the uncertainty of the future. I was afraid to stay lonely and miserable, thinking I was unable to cope with myself and my life. Gradually, however, I began to realize that I could not stay in a marriage just because of fear and uncertainty. I realized that my happiness and self-esteem could not depend on Jake, but Jake wouldn't let up and kept pushing me. I stood in front of Jake, feeling the chuckle that pervaded his words. He grinned confidently, knowing that I couldn't do it without him. I could see the contempt in his eyes as he spoke.
Look at you, Emily. You can't do anything without me. You depend on me, and you always will. It's ridiculous that you would even think of separating from me.
My heart clenched with bitterness, but I gradually realized that these were his words, not my reality. I responded forcefully, "Jake, you're wrong. I've already demonstrated that I'm capable of more. I found a strength and independence in myself that you've never acknowledged. I don't want to be in the shadow of your accomplishments anymore. I deserve to be my own person and pursue my own dreams." He scoffed and snorted contemptuously.
Come on, Emily, you're just trying to convince yourself that you can do something without me. You'll still come back because you're nothing without me.
Bitterness filled my heart, but I didn't let it win. I answered with confidence, "I'm not coming back. I can't stay in a relationship where I am belittled and disrespected. I deserve to be with someone who sees my strength and supports my dreams. I'm not afraid to stand on my own 2 feet and go my own 2 feet and go my own way." Jake hummed, not believing my words. He said,
Those are just words, Emily. Once you face reality, you'll realize you're no good without me.
A spark of doubt remained deep inside me, but I refused to give in. I knew that the future would be difficult, but I was ready to face the challenges to find my happiness and my own strength. Despite Jake's laughter and ridicule, I decided to move forward and start a new chapter in my life. I realized that my actions spoke louder than my words, and I was ready to prove that I was capable of my own achievements and happiness, regardless of his scorn. I leaned over my desk, examining the piece of paper in front of me. The quill in my hand trembles with nervousness. I'm trying to write my first children's book that I've dreamed of for so long, but the words don't come easily. At first, every line, every sentence seems imperfect and unsuccessful. I doubt my abilities and ask myself questions. Maybe Jake was right. Maybe I really can never achieve my dreams. My first attempts at writing stories for children only lead to frustration. I feel like I'm putting my hands down, giving in to my doubts and fears. My dream seems unattainable, and I doubt my abilities. But gradually something changes inside me. I realize that I cannot let fear and self-deprecation define my life. I begin to accept my failures as part of the process and learn from them. I realize that creativity is a journey that takes time, effort, and constant development. Secretly from Jake, I begin taking courses and workshops on writing for children. I study the techniques and secrets of successful authors, striving to improve my skills. I also start doing research and learning about children's preferences and interests. My days and nights are full of hard work and dedication. I write, revise, rewrite, and write again. During this process, I often doubt myself, but I persevere. I find inspiration within myself and in my own childhood experiences. Gradually, my stories begin to take shape and come alive on the pages. I feel my love for children and my desire to inspire their imagination slip into every line. This is my true calling, and I can no longer hide my creative efforts. One day, when Jake is at work, I decide to share my stories with my publisher. I send in my manuscripts with trepidation and anticipation. My heart beats faster when I get a reply. One of my stories has been accepted and will be published. When Jake returns home, I'm in awe to tell him of my progress. He is silent for a few moments and then begins to laugh as if it were a joke.
Are you serious? You really think you can be a writer? It's just funny.
But this time, I don't give him power over me. I smile and say with confidence, "Jake, this is my passion, my calling. I found myself in writing for children, and I'm not going to stop. I believe in myself, and that's all I need." When the first of my books for children gains popularity, I feel a mixture of joy and anxiety in my heart. Joy that my words and stories are reaching little readers and bringing them a smile, and that my dream is beginning to turn into reality. Anxiety arises because of the new world I'm entering and the expectations that are placed on me. When I receive my first book sales payment, my eyes fill with tears of joy. It wasn't just money, it was recognition of my work and efforts. I feel a little liberated from my dependence on Jake, knowing that I'm able to make money with my writing and bring joy to others. However, along with the joy, there are still doubts and worries mixed inside of me. I begin to wonder, what if this is just a one-time success? What if I can't repeat my accomplishments? What if people stop being interested in my books? My thoughts play with my emotions, and I try not to let doubts cloud my accomplishments. I decide to use that energy and passion to further develop and improve my writing. I study feedback from readers to see what works and what can be improved. I take on new projects that challenge me and push my boundaries. Along with that, I maintain my uniqueness and stay true to my inner voice. Gradually, with each new book, my skills and confidence grow. I am beginning to see how my stories and words are impacting the lives of children and their parents. This joy and fulfillment overcomes my doubts and fears, giving me new strength and motivation. I realize that in each of my works, I not only tell a story, but also bring hope and inspiration. I begin to believe in myself and in my ability to make important changes in the lives of others. It becomes my guiding star that helps me overcome any challenges and continue to grow as an author and person. I notice that Jake is becoming nervous and anxious. His confidence that I can't succeed without him is starting to crack. He sees my children's books gaining popularity and bringing me more and more recognition. His fear of losing me, seeing that I am beginning to believe in myself, is becoming more and more apparent. He tries to change my mind and propose to me that I stop writing books and return to my former role in our family. He says that I am deluded, that writing is just a hobby, and that I should be grateful for his support. He starts talking about how I can't do it alone without him, that my writing isn't worth anything, and that I should be grateful for his financial support. I see his fear and doubt show in his words and behavior. However, I feel like I have changed. I am beginning to realize my strength and value. I know that my dreams and creativity are not dependent on his approval. My accomplishments and growing success become my support. I see that his fear of losing me leads him to try to control me and keep me inside his comfort zone. But I am no longer willing to sacrifice my happiness and my own fulfillment for his confidence in his power and control over me. I try to explain my emotions and needs to him. I tell him that I appreciate him, but I also have to follow my dreams and aspirations. And then the unthinkable happened for me. I remember this moment as if it were yesterday. It was a normal evening when I came home after a long day. I felt tired, but I also looked for comfort and support in Jake's arms. I walked to the bedroom door and heard muffled whispers. My heart raced, and I felt some sort of vague unease. When I opened the door carefully, I saw something I'd never expected to see. There, on my own bed, I saw Jake and another woman kissing passionately. My eyes widened and my heart froze. I stood there petrified, unable to look away from this scene of betrayal. A feeling of disappointment and pain washed over me like a wave, sweeping away all my hopes and dreams. Everything I'd believed in, everything we'd built together, crumbled in an instant. I couldn't believe that the man I loved and with whom I had built a future could change me so ruthlessly. I stepped back, trying to gather my thoughts and figure out what to do next. Was this an isolated mistake, or part of a larger pattern of betrayal? Feelings of helplessness and betrayal swept over me, and I could not cope with the wave of emotions that swept through me. However, even in this moment of brokenness, I decided not to show my weakness. I closed the door quietly so that they would not notice my presence, and left the room. With a heavy heart, I went to my own room, where I could put my thoughts in order. I realized that I now had two options: to stay and allow myself to be vulnerable, or to stand up and fight for my own happy and independent life. Although I felt tremendous pain and frustration, I knew I needed to be strong. I decided to use that as fuel for my own success and independence. Thus, I began writing stories that helped me express my emotions and save money for the future. I decided that I would not remain in the shadow of someone else's betrayal, but would build my own destiny. Every day, I surrounded myself more and more with words and stories. My books for children became immensely popular, and my readers fell in love with my characters and adventures. I found a strength and creative gift in myself that I hadn't realized before. My books reached bestsellers and became a topic of discussion. People admired my stories, which conveyed wisdom and emotional depth. I received letters from children, parents, and teachers who said my books inspired them and brought joy to their lives. With each success of my writing journey, I became more and more confident in myself and my abilities. I realized that I could accomplish anything if I believed in myself and worked for it. Over time, I accumulated enough financial independence to become independent and free myself from the toxic bonds of my marriage. No longer did I want to be tied to a man who didn't appreciate me and suppressed my dreams. So I gathered all my courage and told Jake that I wanted a divorce. At first, he tried to diminish my accomplishments and said I couldn't do it without him. But I didn't let him determine my fate anymore. I opened my heart to him and talked about my emotions, how I had survived an affair, and how I was able to find myself again through writing. I explained that my independence and happiness could no longer depend on his presence in my life. With grit and determination, I completed our divorce case. It was painful to leave behind what once seemed like the only way, but I realized that I deserved more, and that my dreams could become a reality without restrictions or compromises. After the divorce, Jake realized he had lost me, and his own words about how I couldn't cope without him came back to him like a boomerang. He tried to convince me to come back, but I was already going my own way. My books continued to win the hearts of readers, and I found new friends and support around me. My self-confidence and happiness were restored, and I realized that I never had to rely on anyone else for my own strength and happiness. Jake tried to right his wrongs by promising to change and be a better person. But I had already lived through all his false promises. I had seen his real face, and I could no longer go back into something that had been ruined. So I went on with my story without him, but with my own dreams and ambitions. I created my own success and found true happiness in what I was doing. Over the years, the past has only become part of my story, but I will never forget that it was a challenge that made me stronger and convinced me that I was capable of overcoming anything. Today, I look at my life with pride and gratitude. I became a successful writer, found true friends, and found love in myself. I realized that true happiness lies in being true to myself and following my dreams.